Ladies and gentlemen, a while back I made a promise that I would talk about Widow's Bay, and unfortunately when the season ended, I was deep in the weeds doing stuff for everything for From. As you guys know, those videos took me a lot of time, there was a lot of crap that went into them, so honestly, it just fell by the wayside. I ended up recording a whole review of Widow's Bay, and for some reason where I recorded, my camera lens got fogged up, so I just ditched it, kind of forgot about it, but then today I was like, oh wait, I haven't ever talked about that show. So today is the day we're talking about Widow's Bay, because I just may, I could keep going. I'm not gonna keep going, but Widow's Bay, for those of you guys know, was an Apple TV series that a lot of people in the From community compared to From, obviously. They were like, oh, this is like From, and a lot of people say, oh, you'll like it better than From. And here's the thing. Widow's Bay online. I don't know if it was bots that I got, if it was influencers and content creators like myself hyping the show up or something like that. But I'm not going to say it was bad, but just to preface this, online, everyone was like, oh my God, this is the best. This is the second coming of Jesus Christ. This is the best show ever. Holy shit, it's perfect. Apple, give the show an Emmy. Not Apple, give the show an Emmy, but give the show an Emmy. All that stuff. Everyone was online. Maybe it was just bots or something. The amount of hype beast comments I got for this show online was unbelievable. I couldn't believe it. And I didn't believe it. I was like, there's no way it's this good. But you know what? People are really hyping it up. That must mean something. And, okay, well, I finished the show, and I just don't think it lived up to the hype. I am not saying it was bad. That is not the point I'm trying to make. I thoroughly enjoyed Widow's Bay. But the hype made it out to be like the best show ever that's ever been made. I firmly disagree with that. I was, honest to God, bored most of the time. There wasn't really a lot in this season that I was like, oh my God, I need to see the resolution to this. And I think my biggest reason for this is by the way it told things and expanded itself. So to be clear, this show was hilarious. This show was actually done really well, and from what I understand, the creatives behind Parks and Rec worked on this show too, and you could clearly tell that because this season of TV was genuinely hilarious. It would have these serious beats, but then there would be a break in between the seriousness of this just humor. And it played off in such a way that was very, very enjoyable to follow and enjoyable to watch. So I think that was the show's strongest element. I certainly do not believe the mystery element of the show was the strongest part of it. I kind of feel like I guess the way I feel about the show is almost like something like Scooby-Doo. And not that because it's like Scooby-Doo where there's this villain they have to unmask every time, but it just felt like these one-off tales, but they gave answers to the overarching mystery, but at the same time, they just threw 8 million things out there, not like From. From is a very deliberate mystery box show, right? We know from the start of From that we're going for this ride of a mystery. That is not really what Widow's Bay is. Yes, they are in this mysterious island where the locals and the natives can't leave or they'll die because of this curse. But that was established, that was already answered, really. But instead we got these random things that didn't feel connected at all and almost just felt like they were there because we have 8 episodes or however many there were, and we just need to fill these things. So let's have an episode where Jason Voorhees is coming after the girl. Let's have an episode where I don't even remember. Let's have an episode where the girl feeds everyone like bird meat or some shit, and they all go in the lake. I don't know how to describe what I mean exactly, other than it didn't feel cohesive. It feels I'm not saying this is a bad thing, but we did get answers to a lot of the things. I'm not complaining about that. That's a good thing. But to compare it to From and to say that this show is a direct comparison to it and that they're so similar and all of that stuff is just a lie. And honestly, I kind of did find this show boring most of the time. And another big problem, I think his name is Tom, if I'm not mistaken, the main character, the mayor, I'm pretty sure his name is Tom. I didn't like him for the first 3 episodes of the show. And then eventually he came around. But I never really got out of that. And I found that to be a weird way to start your story where you're instantly going into it not liking your protagonist. And I feel like they did that intentionally to show kind of like how he was kind of soft and people didn't like him for reasons and he was, in a sense, cowardly. But then it just really just got worse. Like it didn't get better in that regard for a little bit. Then it picked up and then it turned a corner. And what he ended up doing later in the show was pretty crazy, especially towards the end and all of that. Another example of the messiness with it, in my opinion, is the one scene where they're all down in the bunker and there's the whole, we're all gonna die down here. What is that related to? And I understand, again, there's a mystery we need to know, but it feels like they just like toss this thing in there and now we have to like, it's like, oh, and this is what it feels like. All right, bro. So they're stuck in this mystery town and there's this Jason Voorhees figure who kills this one group of people and follows this one. Oh, and then there's this ancient curse. Oh, and by the way, did you hear about the bunkers? The bunkers have crazy stuff down there. I don't know how to describe it, but it doesn't feel like it all blends. Obviously, that is the point. There is a reason. It's all there for sure. But in this first season, it just felt like, oh, and there's that. Oh, and there's that. Oh, and there's that. So for the mystery side of things, which is the side that I like, but not solely care about, but for that side of things, it felt messy to me and honestly boring. I think the best episode of this show was that flashback episode in the what's it called times? I don't know what you call them, like in the Salem witch trials looking times. That was enjoyable. I did like that. But the rest I really didn't care for. I didn't think the story was... It had a cool concept, and it's kind of a shame for me to admit. I'm filming in a shore town in which I grew up in, and I love nautical stories. I love, like, Jaws, for instance. And the idea of there being a mystery box show or anything like that in this sort of town is exactly what I like. I've never been a writer, but I've always had this concept for a story that kind of fits in this mystery box genre that takes place in a coastal city. I've always had this idea in my head, so to see this kind of concept play out was really cool on paper, but then in execution, I just don't think it did any of the things that I was kind of hoping for. That is not to say it's bad. I'm not going to say that because I don't think that's the case. I do think this was a good show. This was a good first season. Enough for me to continue and watch season 2. But so far, was it my favorite thing? Did it live up to the X-hype? Did it live up to the people saying it was like literally like the Immaculate Conception? No, it didn't. It just didn't. It wasn't bad, but it wasn't... I don't know, maybe I'm realizing this show isn't exactly for me as much as I thought it would, given its setting, given that it is a somewhat mystery and those things. I thought I'd be more attached to the story, but really the one thing I was attached to was the humor. The humor was genuinely really good. I enjoyed that. That was the biggest surprise and probably my favorite thing about season 1 of Widow's Bay. For the rest of it, I found it kind of boring, if I'm being completely honest. I'd love to hear from you, because it does seem like I'm in the minority about that, and I'm really not trying to hate just to hate, but I have to be honest about my feelings. That's how I felt about this season. That's why I didn't really make a video. I didn't really care to, because it wasn't really anything that I needed to address, but people have asked for it. So here you go. These are my opinions on Widow's Bay. I will watch season 2. I hope it gets better for what I hope for, but maybe if it doesn't, maybe it's just not a show that's not for me. That's okay. If it's for you and it worked for you, that's fantastic. There is nothing wrong with that. I understand the appeal. I understand why people would like it. Maybe this one's not for me. I will give it another attempt. We'll see. But yeah, I'd like to hear from you. Do you agree? I'm sure you don't. If you disagree, I'd like to hear why. But with all that out of the way, thank you again so much for watching this video. And until the next one, I'll talk to you later. Peace out.